do so, I'm gonna do a roll call of commission members. Commissioners, please, after I say your name, please reply here or present to confirm that you can see me and hear me. Commissioner Hughes.
Present, I can see and hear you.
Commissioner Ponce.
Here, I can see and hear you.
Commissioner Osman.
Here, I can see and hear you.
Commissioner Jakovich.
Here, I can see and hear you. Thank
you. Last year, Governor Pritzker signed Public Act 101-0640, making certain amendments to the Open Meetings Act so that we, along with other boards and commissions, can continue to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that Chairman Wong, as head of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks, determined that an in-person meeting of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks and its Permit Review Committee are not practical or prudent. I want to make sure our virtual meetings meet all the conditions of the Open Meetings Act as amended. Therefore, Chairman Wong has made a determination pursuant to Section 7E2 of the Open Meetings Act that an in-person meeting of this Permit Review Committee is not practical or prudent. Similarly, he has also made a determination pursuant of Section 7E5 that because of the disaster as declared by the governor, it is not feasible for at least one member of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks or its chief administrative officer or its chief legal officer to be physically present at the meeting place for either meeting, inasmuch as there is no physical meeting place. Pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Commission on Chicago Landmarks on June 4th of 2020 regarding the chairman's emergency rulemaking powers, Chairman Wong issued emergency rules governing the conduct of remote public commission meetings and provisions for remote public participation, effective January 19, 2021. These rules were posted on the Commission's website. In line with this emergency rules, today's regular Permit Review Committee meeting is a virtual meeting being simulcast to the general public via live streaming. Permit Review Committee meetings have been held virtually since May of last year. Meetings are structured to minimize the chances for technical difficulties. Members of the general public have been encouraged to submit written statements in advance of the meeting, and any received have been posted on the Commission's website and are available for public viewing during the virtual meeting at www.chicago.gov/ccl. Members of the public desiring to speak today at today's meetings were required to register before the meeting, and verbal statements by the public for all agenda items will take place at the beginning of the meeting. Applicants and their representatives, as well as aldermen, were asked to contact staff if they desire to speak, and they will be able to do so after the staff presentations on a specific project. One member of the general public has signed up to speak on agenda item number 2. Second. On agenda item number 2, the project at 3300 South Federal. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Begin by stating your name and the association you represent. If any, for the record. Can we please hear from Orr Miller?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, Madam Chairman?
I can.
Yes, good afternoon, and to members of the Commission on Chicago Landmarks and the Permit Review Committee. I'm Ward Miller, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We at Preservation Chicago are very supportive of the proposal for an adaptive reuse of IIT's main building, a designated Chicago landmark by architects Patton and Fisher. The building was one of our Chicago's 7 most endangered in the past, and this building has an incredible history pertaining to both the architects, the university, in addition to the Armour family, one of Chicago's early industrialists, and of course the legacy associated with IIT, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, in the Second Chicago School of Architecture. So this is an important resource to save and repurpose, as its history is as it's so highly visible from so many perspectives and view sheds, including from the I-90, I-94 interstate, the Dan Ryan Expressway. And so we at Preservation Chicago highly encourage the restoration and reuse of the main building at IIT. It's a remarkable structure. Also, regarding item number 5 on the agenda for the former Swedish American State Bank, we do very much support the reuse and the changes to this landmark, and we are very encouraged by this. Unfortunately, there's another bank, the former Lakeview Belmont National Bank at Belmont and Clark, 3179 North Clark, which was not landmarked and was not orange rated. And it's threatened, this beautiful little 2-story limestone building is threatened by a very bland 2-story retail project. So it's our opinion that really we'd like to see some more encouragement of our historic buildings that were missed in the Chicago Historic Resources Survey, and perhaps an update of that. We have a petition signature out, actually a community member does, which has already garnished almost 600 individuals in the community who would really like to see this building and its facade saved. And it's just so unfortunate that in a city of architecture, we don't have more resources and tools to help save these buildings of the community that are so important to the community. And instead, we're going over a document that's, we're using a document that's 25 years old. So we want to encourage reuse and preservation of these historic buildings, and so appreciate your time today. And again, we do support, highly support the reuse and the restoration of main building at IIT's campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Also, thank you for all the work that you do supporting neighbors and neighborhood organizations to be stewards of these buildings and places. That is all the speakers who sign up to speak for the Permit Review Committee meeting. So we will go through the agenda now. Our next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held the regular meeting on April 1st. Commissioners, as a reminder, when you wish to speak, make a motion or a second motion, please raise your hand, either virtual or physical. And now I would like to request a motion to approve the minutes of the April 1st, 2021 meeting.
So moved, Ponce.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponce has made the motion. Can I ask for a second motion?
Seconded, Commissioner Osman.
Thank you. Commissioner Osman has seconded the motion. Now I would like to take a vote on the motion. Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Jagovich?
Yes.
Thank you. And myself, Commissioner Aguirre, also vote yes. So the motion carries unanimously, and the minutes will be posted on the Commission's website. We'll now move to our first item in the agenda. This is 20 North Wacker on the 42nd Ward. And I am going to call Emily for the presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, go to the next slide. So the Civic Opera House was built by Graham, Anderson, Probst, and White and finished construction in 1929. In addition to its notable exterior features, a number of interior spaces are also designated, including the opera lobby, the grand foyer, and the original theater fire curtain. To kind of locate you, since it's such a big building, these are all on the far southeast corner, coming off of the intersection of Madison and Wacker. So the current proposal is to introduce a new mechanical air system into the designated lobby, which is outlined in red, and install glass partitions to help mitigate temperature issues within the building. The applicant is hoping to install this new proposal over the summer, so it will be ready for the Lyric Opera House's fall reopening. So the proposed changes within the designated interiors are in response to operations issues that have always historically existed in the building. The applicant claims that with over 3,000 patrons entering the theater in the 30-minute period prior to performances, the existing vestibules of limited depth are ineffective keeping the cold air out. They say that the result is that this influx of cold air overwhelms the mechanical system, and these systems do not catch up until well into performances. Further complicating the situation are the additional requirements in security screening, including bag checks, which require the vestibule doors be open even more. According to the Opera House, attempts have been previously made attempting to address this in the most recent mitigation, a high volume air curtain system, which is currently within the undesignated high east vestibule ceiling. You can see a picture of it in the middle there. It's been found to be ineffective. Its resulting high noise volumes have turned out to be highly intrusive, while, as you can see, also significantly altering the visual quality of the vestibule's original plaster ceiling. So this proposal is to turn the lobby into a sort of enlarged vestibule with the addition of glass walls to provide separation and a reduced airflow at the doors between the inner and outer spaces. A new air handler is proposed with flangeless air slot diffusers cut and plastered into the perimeter of the lobby's plaster ceiling. So the applicant's proposing to add 4 new glass partitions to the west and north pass-throughs of the lobby space. The partitions have been designed to be as minimally intrusive as possible, and the main materials will be clear vision glass with bronze door hardware and frame. Bronze finish has been chosen to match the many other bronze elements throughout the Opera House. The majority of the glass will be butt glazed to avoid visible mullions, and while the door hardware connection plates vary in size by manufacturer, they'll likely be somewhere between 6 and 9 inches in length. The western partition is proposed to be approximately 20 feet long and will separate the lobby from the grand foyer, which are both designated interiors. Care has been taken to ensure that the new partitions will have the fewest attachment penetrations possible. The applicant estimates that approximately 6 floor and 6 ceiling penetrations will be required for the western partition. The ornamental plaster ceiling has been modified in the past, and there is likely little, if any, historic material remaining. The floors are original to the building, however, and staff recommends that the penetrations be located within the tile grout joints. The original stone walls will not require any penetrations and will remain as existing. The partitions on the north side of the lobby are similar in design to that of the west, with glass spanning the 3 openings which lead to an undesignated elevator lobby to the north. The 2 end partitions are approximately 7 foot 4 inch in length, with the middle longer partition closer to 17 feet 10 inches. The main difference between the north and the west is that these northern partitions will be connected via a bronze-clad mounting channel and a thin bronze plate attached to the existing recessed travertine panel. This has similarly been designed to require the fewest attachment penetrations possible to minimize the damage to historic fabric. Because the applicant has exhausted many other options to solve the significant temperature issues the Lyric Opera faces, coupled with the minimal attachment locations and design, staff recommends that the proposed work will not have an adverse effect on the designated interiors. So as I mentioned previously, the ornamental plaster ceiling of the Opera House lobby has been modified and has required multiple repairs and patching over the building's 92-year-long history. Working in concert with the new glass partitions, the applicant is proposing to remove the existing air curtain mechanical system from the east vestibule and install a new air handling system. This will predominantly be located in an undesignated storage room. And then the system will travel through the vestibules and into the main lobby where continuous slot diffusers are located in an unornamental part of the ceiling perimeter. These slot diffusers will then be able to circulate warm air throughout the lobby in the colder months. The new continuous slot returns and diffusers are approximately 1.5 inches wide and are proposed to be inserted into the plaster ceiling and painted black. The applicant has provided renderings showing the diffusers, as you can see, and staff recommends that these be instead painted gold to match the remainder of the ceiling to further minimize any visibility. Because the diffusers are located on a plain section of plaster directly parallel to the cornice to the inside and the decorative trim to the outside, staff agrees that this is the best location for the continuous returns. Upon completion of the mechanical work, the applicant proposes to restore the plaster ceiling following installation. So we recommend approval with the conditions I already stated. And I believe the architect and a representative from Lyric Opera are here if you have any questions for them or me.
Thank you, Emily. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Emily at the moment? I don't see any hands up yet. Okay. Now, can we hear from the applicant and the representatives? If necessary, we can call on others in the applicant's party, but at this time, can we please hear from the project architect, Len Kurowski? Good afternoon. We cannot hear you. You're still
I'm
muted.
sorry. Good afternoon, Madam Commissioner. We believe the Lyric Opera has been great stewards to this wonderful Chicago treasure of a building. The proposed revisions were operationally driven. Historically, when you have 3,000 people entering the Opera House at one time, it has a very negative impact on the sort of cold air rushing into not only this foyer that we're proposing to bifurcate, but also into the grand foyer. I think the changes are minimal, reversible, and should technically be able to address the operational issues that they have. I think Chicago Landmark staff adequately covered the technical issues. Happy to answer any specific questions. We also have Drew Landmesser, the COO of the Lyric Opera, here to answer any statement from the owner.
Thank you, Mr. Kurowski. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the project architect?
Yeah, I was curious. I myself have experienced that cold rush while waiting to get in or through security, so I know what you're talking about. And so I was curious now with this new enclosure, did you do any modeling by chance to see how this will perform? I mean, just knowing that the significant, previous solutions did not work and still the systems were struggling. Was there any modeling by chance?
Yes, there have been modeling done on several aspects. The sort of first commenting on the existing system, the original foyers just inside the inside doors are about a 10-foot depth. So the attempt of the prior air curtain was to both pressurize, blow air in there. But the problem is, it's a space with 14-foot tall ceilings in a very short depth of space. We almost couldn't throw enough air in there, instead introduced jet engine sounds into that space. So again, those prior ones were ineffective. What we're doing with the new scheme is, with the doors open where the ticketing will be taking, the overall airflow has been reduced by about 70%. So, when there's a gap in ticketing between bag check and ticketing, the doors can be closed. So I think we're all very comfortable enough to state that there'll be a significant improvement. But just that amount of air just sort of lofted into the grand foyer, great big space, it would turn out to be a great cold space. And there was no way that the systems, you could sort of bifurcate air flowing from the grand foyer into the theater. So I think the intent certainly is that this solution is minimal, reversible, and it should be effective in controlling the air. So you have this enlarged kind of pressurized, warmed up space, if you will.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ponce, does that satisfies your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, I love this building, the interiors. I haven't had the luxury of attending any of the performances yet, but I'm hoping when things open back up, I work right next door. So I've walked through this building many times. My question is, I looked at the detailing and it seems like there's some really tight nooks in between the glass and the existing kind of ornamental spaces around it, particularly where it's connecting to the existing building. What are we doing, or how are we thinking about like cleanability and, you know, getting in between those nooks just for maintenance reasons?
Yeah, in the section, there was a section up. In the section, what we've tried to do is locate the glass partition just, if you will, outboard. I think one more section. Yeah, there we go. The glass partition is located just off the kind of cornice molding detail. So it sits within an open area. So at that location, you know, they'll require a reinforcing steel above that. At the top of the arch, we're within 6 inches in this section from the structural steel girder. So I think the top is kind of within a clean and flat area. You are correct in your observation that in the jamb or side conditions, there is an opening. We had provided a detail for that where the same top channel framing is tucked in along the vertical jamb sides. And then we inserted a scribed closure piece going from that U-shaped channel to the face of the existing stone. Intent is certainly not in touching any of that stone, making any cuts or into it, but we're just scribing against it to close that kind of open gap of condition.
Yeah, it's very intricately done, and I appreciate the that this can be easily removed and updated in the future if need be, without it, you know, obscuring any of the existing conditions. But yeah, that's a tight squeeze. So whoever's going to be cleaning that and needing, you know, any access will have their work cut out.
Tight, but I think it's doable. But obviously there's a compromise between, you know, perhaps a little bit more of operational work, but I don't think the, you know, sort of depth of cleaning is all that great. But I think the primary concern was the minimal invasiveness on any historic materials.
Thank you. I'm curious about just more the implementation of the slot around the room. Is that a demolition that happens for the penetration on the ceiling? Can you just describe a little bit more of that operation?
Yes, if we can flip to the mechanical plan, which I think was included. The perimeter slot goes around the exterior of it. In the center photograph, bottom left side, the air handler will be put in there. The supply will be serving on the east and south sides. So you're having ductwork sort of going from the slightly lower vestibule ceilings into this air slot area on both the bottom or east and the left and south. The return air slots are on the top west and right north faces of the room. So we will have some duct penetrations over the top of the doors, and we'll have a large air distribution boot sitting on top of that. So we will probably have to open the flat areas for some distance along in there. As Emily indicated, that ceiling has been opened before. What we will probably do is do a complete restoration of the ceiling sort of not only covering over the holes and penetrations that we're making, but also doing a complete restoration of the overall ceiling by doing kind of a clean, skimmed up plaster coat for sort of past repairs and patches that exist within it. And the existing ceiling paint will also be restored to match that that is existing. And that will be true within the foyer that you're seeing here. And it will also be true at the restoration of the east foyer where the prior system will be removed.
Thank you. This seems a very extensive just modification. So I was just really curious, how is that going to be implemented? You're right. I think this has not been the first time that the ceiling has been modified, and openings might have been done in the past and might be done in the future as well. But this is definitely one piece that I was really curious about. Thank you.
Well, I think the driver for it is kind of a response from the public. Drew from the Opera House can sort of jump in on this, but what it turns out is the January and February operas are currently, they'll see a drop off of number of people signing up for them, simply because January, February, we have our coldest kind of periods. And people, frankly, it's an older population that probably is very sensitive to that. So the theater people will be starting a performance with their coats on, particularly if they're sitting on the back of the main floor. And then as the opera, proceeds, the temperature, the system starts catching up, and then they're shedding their coats and sort of rustling around in their seats, trying to tuck in their coat into the back of their seats in the middle of a performance. So again, I think we're trying to come up with a respectful way to address the conditions, both of the mechanical system, the needs for added space for bag check, the added needs for electronic ticketing, all of those sort of on a practical operational basis.
Thank you. We appreciate the thoughtfulness and elegant solution you found for this. Commissioners, are there any additional questions, either for the staff or the project architect? I don't see any hands, so if there are not further questions, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendations for this project.
So moved, Commissioner Osman.
Thank you. Commissioner Osman has made a motion. Can I ask for a second motion?
Second,
Commissioner
Commissioner
Hughes.
Hughes, you can have it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hughes has seconded the motion. Now we'll take a vote on the motion with a roll call. Commissioner Ikovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
Thank you. Myself, Commissioner Aguirre, is also yes. The motion carries unanimously. And thank you so much to the project architect for sharing with us the project, and good luck. We can't wait to be in the fall, visit in the fall, whether it's to enjoy a performance or just to see how wonderful this work would turn out.
We're excited about the potential of opening the Opera House again, and look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. We are moving into our second item of the agenda, 3300 South Federal in the Third Ward. I would like to call Larry for this presentation.
Thank you, Chairwoman Aguirre. So as Ward mentioned, this building was built for the Armor Institute of Technology, which was the predecessor of IIT. The property was designated in 2004, and the significant features are identified as all exterior elevations, including roof lines, and the Philip D. Armour Jr. Memorial stained glass window located on the first landing of the main staircase in the main building. In June of 2016, the Permit Review Committee conditionally approved the applicant's plan to rehabilitate and convert the building into residential units. Because the PRC approval is only valid for 2 years with a possible extension to 3 years, the previous approval has expired and requires renewed approval from the committee. With a few minor changes, the scope of the project remains the same. IIT would continue to own the property and lease it to the applicant. The applicant is also applying for the 20% federal rehabilitation tax credit and has reviewed the proposed scope of work with the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency. Exterior work to address masonry conditions is part of the overall rehabilitation. The building is clad with red brick and ornamental terracotta elements at the upper floors and rough-faced dark red sandstone at the lower 2 floors. As outlined in the Klein and Hoffman report included in your packet, numerous areas of masonry deterioration, bulging and displacement, spalling, and cracks exist on the building. The masonry repair program will include repair where required and replacement of deteriorated masonry where necessary. Details of masonry repair and replacement will be reviewed by historic preservation staff as part of the permit application. Staff should also review for approval masonry replacement samples and any proposed substitute materials. The replacement units will match the historic units in size, shape, color, texture, and finish. In 2016, the committee approved the replacement of existing windows on the east elevation of the boiler house. At the exterior of the main building, select windows which have been altered previously will be replaced to match the adjacent windows, which will remain. Window replacement was approved on the north and south elevations following the removal of existing fire escapes. The historic stained glass windows will be cleaned as necessary, and the exterior storm shutters will be replaced. Details of the new storm shutters and information on the cleaning of the stained glass shall be reviewed with the permit application. To accommodate residential units at the top of the building, new attic window openings were approved on the east and west elevations. These windows are small square windows matching the size and arrangement of existing windows located in the center section of the building. They also address the code requirements for light and ventilation. Existing and proposed window details shall be reviewed as a part of the permit application. In 2016, the PRC approved new skylights proposed in the center roof section of the building based on photographic and physical documentation showing that skylights existed on certain sections of the roof. Staff recommends that the new skylights should be low profile and this frame shall be of a color consistent with the color of the roofing shingles. Also in 2016, the committee approved of 4-foot roof extensions to screen required mechanical elements. The existing roof line of the building has been significantly altered, and the extensions restore some of that missing height. These extensions will receive asphalt shingles to match the rest of the roof. The 2-story boiler house located on the south end of the building was not constructed at the same time as the main building, but was added by the first decades of the 1900s. Additions and changes were made over time, enlarging its footprint and removing a tall smokestack and a hipped roof section of the building. In 2016, the committee approved reconstruction of the south wall of the boiler house. However, based on additional investigation, the applicants believe that they can repair and retain more of the south wall of the boiler house than previously anticipated. Again, in 2016, the committee approved bracing and repairing of the east or the sandstone elevation of the boiler house. The south brick elevation will be braced and repaired in place. In 2016, they also approved the reconstruction of the west wall, an additional 10 feet 8 inches east of the current location. The resulting space will provide a service drive to the main building. The elevated train embankment blocks visibility of that west wall, so this change will be largely hidden. The reconstructed west wall will be clad in brick to match the current condition. As noted, the existing brick will be salvaged and reinstalled as much as possible. So we are recommending approval mainly with the same conditions that we included in the 2016 review. That's pretty much it for my presentation. I know that the architect and developer are on the call if you have any questions for them.
Thank you, Larry. At this moment, commissioners, do you have any questions for Larry?
Yeah, this is more of a technicality question. Once approved here, is it just for that additional year, or is it another? Can you explain that a little bit more?
So when the PRC approves a project, it's good for 2 years from the date of approval. If the project doesn't change substantially, they can request extension of that approval for a 3rd year. But at the end of that 3rd year, there's no more extensions. They basically have to renew that approval, and that's what's happened here.
Thank you, Larry. Commissioners, any more questions for Larry? Okay, can we hear now from the applicant and the representative? Can we hear, please, from our project architect, Ken DeMuth?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for reviewing our project. I'm getting some feedback. Can somebody please mute? Thank you. We're really pleased to be working on this project. I actually have enjoyed the pause the project's had. It's given us some time to reflect on early decisions. And as Larry mentioned, we've been able to investigate a little more thoroughly and have consequently been able to incorporate more of the original fabric into the final solution, which I think is always in the best interests of preservation. Norman Patton, if you don't know much about him, he was a significant architect in Chicago before the World's Fair. He actually continued on as an architect for the Chicago School Board for many years, and through his efforts, the schools really moved in the direction at the turn of the century to fireproof construction. So he was beyond just a great designer, he was a technical thinker, and probably cut his teeth a bit on this building. It's a beautiful building, but it's in many ways kind of dark ages, rule of thumb construction, and we're inheriting some of the problems as a result of that, either with foundation settlement or other repairs that the building's going to need that Larry outlined, but they're all in our scope, and we're very excited to be moving ahead with this project at long last. So unless you have any questions, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. DeMuth? I had the opportunity to visit the building, so it's really exciting to learn that the timing has enabled the team, the design and the project team to find additional solutions for that that boiler door. It's a really remarkable building and in very, very solid state. So excited to see the plans moving forward. I don't have necessarily a question. It was more of, celebrating that building that project is moving forward. And actually I was able to visit because of Open House Chicago. So that's, I don't know, Commissioner Osmond, if that's what you wanted to share.
That's how I've seen it. And it's congratulations. I toured with the architect. It's a fabulous restoration and fabulous building. Glad to see it's moving forward.
Wonderful. So commissioners, any questions either for the staff or for the project architect? I don't see any hands up. So if there are no other questions, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendations for this project.
Pleased to move that, Commissioner Osmond.
Thank you. Commissioner Osmond has made a motion.
Commissioner Jakovich.
Thank you. Commissioner Jakovich has seconded the motion. Now I would like to take a vote on the motion. I'm going to do a roll call. Commissioner Hughes.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
And myself, Commissioner Aguirre, also vote yes. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Demus, for coming in, sharing the project with us. Good luck. And we look forward to see this building in its new life very soon.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Moving on to item number 3 in the agenda, 1120 West Lawrence in the 46th Ward. And I would like to call Larry for a presentation.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I'm back. So this is a proposed CTA station on Lawrence. The original Lawrence station opened in 1923, shortly after the Northwestern Elevated Railroad was elevated between Wilson and Howard. In 1995, the original station house was demolished and replaced basically with security fencing, ticket booths, turnstiles, and stairways connecting to the elevated platform only on the south side of Lawrence. This is primarily an open air entrance. The current project includes construction of a new main station house on the north side of Lawrence and an auxiliary station exit on the south. Project includes a new platform and canopy structures served by 3 stairs, 1 escalator, and 1 elevator. The project will allow CTA to lengthen and widen the station platform and make the new station ADA compliant. This is part of CTA's Red Purple Line modernization project. So the original Lawrence CTA station was designed by architect Arthur Gerber in a classical revival style using white terracotta. As I mentioned, in 1995, that was demolished and replaced with what is pretty much a temporary CTA stop. The only elements that remain from that original station are the steel canopy supports on the platforms. The Red Purple modernization project requires federal funding for implementation, and this initiated a review process under Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. At that time, CTA shared their plans for removing and reconstructing several CTA stations, as well as track structures, including Lawrence Station. To mitigate any adverse impacts on historic resources, the Federal Transit Administration entered into a memorandum of agreement with the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation and the Illinois Historic Preservation Agency. And this was executed in September of 2015 and was included in your packet. The Section 106 consultation process is now complete. Staff of the Historic Preservation Division participated in the process as a consulting party, as did Preservation Chicago, Landmarks Illinois, the Miami Tribe of Oklahoma, the Edgewater Historical Society and Museum, the Uptown Chicago Commission, Friends of the Parks, and the Uptown Historical Society. As a part of their mitigation strategies, CTA agreed to provide the following, which is relevant for review of the current Lawrence CTA station proposal. Number 1, CTA committed to solicit visual preferences in developing the design of the project during pre-construction phase. 2, CTA committed to prepare Historic American Engineering Record Level 2 documentation for the existing track structure within the project limits. 3, CTA committed to prepare an updated National Register of Historic Places nomination form for the Uptown Square Historic District, including properties previously determined to be too young for inclusion or overlooked in the original nomination. 4, CTA developed a historic preservation plan for the Uptown Square Historic District, including an inventory of contributing properties and prioritized preservation goals specific to that district. 5, prior to construction, CTA prepared a protection and stabilization plan for National Register listed or eligible properties within 15 feet of project construction activities. And 6, in its construction planning phase, CTA committed to prepare a construction outreach and coordination plan that their contractors will be required to follow. Proposed work includes removal of the existing temporary access enclosures on the south side of Lawrence, as well as removal of the existing track structure, platforms, and canopies. These structures are in poor condition and limit the ability of the new station to accommodate current access requirements. The primary station house is proposed to be on the north side of Lawrence, which is where the original station house was located, and the auxiliary exit on the south. The applicants have provided a series of renderings and photos to describe the existing conditions and the design of the new station houses. The taller primary station house on the north side of Lawrence is intended to reference the proportions of historic architectural features in the district, which often incorporate multi-floor portal openings. This also provides greater penetration of light into the space. In addition, the height clearly defines it as the primary entrance. The south station house is asymmetrical and somewhat shorter, and this will only be used as an exit. Both station houses are proposed to be clad with white terracotta rain screens. Light-colored glazed terracotta has been used for many of the historic buildings in the district and is a compatible material choice. Both stations are proposed to be outlined and illuminated by recessed LED fixtures. The underside of the track structure between the new station houses is also proposed to be illuminated with new lighting fixtures. New bike racks are proposed for both sides of the street, which will be linked by a new crosswalk. At the elevated level of the station, the existing wood platforms are proposed to be replaced with new concrete platforms, which will be substantially wider, allowing greater accessibility and accommodating the new elevator. The existing riveted steel canopies and corrugated roofs are proposed to be replaced with a new metal and glass canopy. As part of the review process for reconstruction, the applicant has held 4 public meetings, 1 aldermanic meeting, and 1 meeting with the Uptown Chicago Commission. All of these occurred during 2020 and 2021, and a summary was included in your packet. A letter of support from Alderman Kappelman has been provided in your submittal. So staff does find that the proposed design is compatible with the historic characteristics of the Uptown Square District and recommends that the committee approve the project as submitted. That pretty much concludes my presentation. If there are any questions for me, I know that the architects and CTA representatives are also on the call if you have questions for them.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate the presentation. What a transformative future for this station. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Larry at this moment? I don't see any hands. Okay. Now we would like to hear from the applicant and their representative. Sorry. Yeah, go
I just
ahead.
asked one question.
Go ahead.
As we go to the applicant, maybe just hear a little bit about the use of so much white and where that comes from. And that's all.
I'm totally going to defer to the architects on that one, and they can address that directly.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Commissioner Jakovich. I would, yeah, let's hear from the project owner representative, Grace O's. And if you can also introduce yourself and address the question.
Great. Can you hear me okay? I'm not sure I'm coming through.
Yes,
okay.
we can. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Grace O's, and I'm a general manager at CTA on the RPM project. I wanted to thank the commissioners and DPD staff for the support of this project. And also a special thank you to Alderman Kappelman, whose ward this project's in, and his support of the project, as well as the Larry named the 106 consulting parties, and especially in this particular area, Uptown Chicago Commission and Cindy Anderson for their support of the project. As mentioned, this work at Lawrence Station, this new Lawrence Station is part of CTA's transformative $2.1 billion red purple modernization project. It's the first phase of that project. That project's envisioned to go all the way from Belmont on the south, all the way up to Linden up on the purple line, to rebuild the 100-year-old infrastructure for CTA and our riders. We'll rebuild Lawrence Station as well as Argyle, Berwyn, and Bryn Mawr on the red line, and we're also rebuilding the track and structure. The new stations will be fully accessible, as we've noted. including elevators, wider platforms, and vastly improved amenities for our riders. The structure and track work will provide a smoother, more comfortable, and more reliable ride and replace the existing 100-year-old infrastructure. So as Larry also mentioned, we have entered into a memorandum of agreement, and we are working to comply with all of those requirements. And we do send to all of the 106 parties and to SHPO and to FTA status of that every June 1st. So we are coming up on that, and we'll have updates for everyone on the status of the remaining items. Many items in that memo of agreement have been addressed already. So now I will turn it over to our architect to talk a little bit about the choice of materials for the station and the question about the color.
Hello, my name is Alcira Maldonado. I am design architect with EXP. We are the architects and engineers for the stations, in particular for here, for Lawrence. The question was regarding the materiality and the color for the station itself. As Larry had mentioned before, the station of Lawrence, the historical station that it was before here, it actually used the white terracotta at the station. We thought like that was a really nice material to use for the station, as well as does the material for a lot of the buildings along the Lawrence Street and in the district itself. The material itself, the terracotta and the white, we think it goes like really nicely to go underside of the viaduct, because it will cast like some shadows and it will be like lighter and look a lot of like, it will add a lot of light underneath the viaduct. The terracotta is actually a glazed terracotta system, and because it's glazed terracotta, it will be really easy cleanable, so it can be really easy to clean and to maintain. And we think that the color, yeah, will complement just the underside, and will make it just the underside of the viaduct really like lighter and more brighter of what we see like on the existing station that we have right now.
Thank you. Commissioner Jajkovic, is there a follow-up to that question? Does this satisfy your?
Oh, just one question on the underside of the tracks. What's the cladding material there that wraps the underside of the tracks? Is that terracotta? Is that
no,
metal?
so I'm sorry. The underside of the terracotta is just the precast segments that we have for the tracks itself. So
okay.
All of the track that you're seeing up above is all concrete, all precast. The columns itself too, which you will see on the north side of the street, and then the station itself is the one that it will be just clad with the terracotta system.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you for that clarification.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yeah, my question was along the lines of, has this project like done any community outreach, like leveraged any local artists, or like how are we like bringing in the personality of this community and their input into this project and this process?
I will try to respond to the best of my knowledge. Grace had to step out, which is the representative for CTA. But CTA has done many outreaches. They've worked with the district itself. They have reached to, they're gonna have a reach out to artists to actually engage the artists through like the art at the CTA in this inside of the stations. And they have reached out to
Chinese Mutual Aid Society, Southeast Asian Cultural Center. Sorry.
Thank you.
Jeff Wilson from the Community Relations Department at CTA. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I am very familiar with the outreach that took place. and that was with Dennis Mondero from the Chinese Mutual Aid Society, as well as the Southeast Asian Community Center, and various other stakeholders within the community itself.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Would you mind just reintroducing yourself? You did it really fast, so for the record.
Absolutely. Let me turn my video on as well. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Wilson. I'm the Director of Government and Community Relations for the Chicago Transit Authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any additional questions? I do have a question for, I don't see any hands, but in the meantime, I do have a question for the architect. Was there any consideration of preserving any of the existing steel structures for the design? Because there's a replacement for concrete structure in this case, right? And a follow-up to that, is there any kind of plan for where the demolish elements or remove elements are going to go to? That's a lot of steel.
Unfortunately, there is not a plan to keep any of the steel structure that is existing because the tracks itself are going to be raised in elevation from when they are. So the track structure actually starts, the replacement starts like south of the actual station. So the entire length from south of Lawrence all the way to north of the station of Braemar will be replaced by the precast segments. So just because of the elevation and the technical requirements to meet just those two transitions, those conditions, there is not a way that we could save any of the steel structure at these locations. In regards to your second question, what is going to happen with the steel? I am not sure exactly what is going to be like the final destination for the demolition of the track structure.
Hey, my name's Katrina Denny. I'm one of the CTA project managers on the job. Kind of related to this question, not particularly at Lawrence, but down at Belmont, we actually are salvaging part of the existing track structure and will be installing sort of like a cool exhibit at the Belmont station. So not here at Lawrence, but there will be a feature kind of like that at Belmont, which is part of the project. So yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Denny. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, we take also very seriously here in the committee, in the commission, sustainability. So we understand the upgrading of public infrastructure is important, but also we like to think of all the materials that are being discarded, relocated, and thinking creatively about another use, but also, the historic significance of that technology at the time. Some stations have done more creative work than others, and it's important for us to just bring that as part of this public discussion. Commissioners, do you have any additional questions? Well, I don't see any hands. So if there's no further discussion, I would like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendations.
I move, Commissioner Osmond, I move to adopt the staff recommendations.
Thank you. Commissioner Osmond has made a motion. Can I ask for a second motion?
I'll second that motion. Commissioner Jakovich.
Thank you. Commissioner Jakovich has seconded the motion. Now I'm going to take a vote. Doing a roll call. Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
Thank you. And myself, Commissioner Guerrero, also vote yes. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much for bringing this project, and we're excited about always upgrading our public infrastructure, and the best of luck in the completion of the project. All right, well, we'll move to the next item on the agenda. Item number 4, it's 3728 North Springfield. And I would like to call Emily for this presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. So the Villa District was designated by City Council in 1983 and contains excellent examples of prairie and craftsman style architecture. The single-family home at 3728 North Springfield was originally constructed in 1909 as a part of a larger development for Heinz and Wheeler, but has been highly modified sometime in the past. It is located mid-block on Springfield towards the north end of the district. So the original siding has been replaced or maybe covered up. Original masonry openings have changed, and the once open front porch has been enclosed. The applicant has recently purchased the property and is proposing a full exterior rehabilitation with new rear additions and dormers. Historic imagery shows the building's original design, and this is what the new rehab is based on. So the building is primarily clad in 2 materials, a non-historic aluminum siding and a permastone cladding. Based on historic imagery provided by the applicant, it's difficult to tell exactly what the original cladding materials were, but based on nearby homes built in the early 20th century, staff assumes the original material to be wood siding. The applicant is proposing to remove all of the non-historic cladding and replace with new fiber cement siding in a light beige color. Per the Commission's wood siding repair and replacement policy, which was adopted in 2018, for secondary elevations that are minimally visible from streets and sidewalks within the district, Commission staff may approve replacement of missing siding or wood siding deteriorated beyond repair with smooth surface cementitious siding with a lap exposure to match historic. For front and highly visible secondary elevations, where original siding is missing or deteriorated beyond repair, Commission staff shall only approve wood siding to match historic. As you can see by the plot of survey and the general kind of aerial view, this home has very wide side yards. So staff recommends that upon removal of the non-historic siding, preservation staff be notified to make a site visit to verify if any historic wood siding remains, review its condition, and determine if it can be retained and repaired. If any historic details are uncovered during this time, they should be documented and used to further inform the design in the permit drawings. If historic wood siding is found and can be repaired, select areas of deterioration should be replaced in kind with wood clapboard to match the design, lap exposure, profile, etc. of the existing historic siding. If the siding cannot be repaired, new wood clapboard siding shall be installed on the front and side elevations of the original building footprint. There's currently an enclosed porch on the front of the building. The applicant proposes to modify the non-historic covered porch and reintroduce an open porch based off of historic photographs. This work will restore the original conditions of the building, and staff recommends approval as proposed. So over time, the historic window openings have been altered. Based on historic photos, the applicant proposes to reintroduce the majority of the original location, size, configurations of the windows as closely as possible, with the addition of 6 new basement windows and 3 new windows on the first floor, all of which are shown in green on this elevation. On the elevations for which no photos exist, the window locations will stay largely the same, with the addition of 2 new basement windows on the north elevation. Staff recommends approval of the window locations and configurations, as they are either dealing with existing conditions or largely based on historic documentation, and will be compatible with the property and district as a whole. Staff recommends that all of the windows on the highly visible south, north, and east elevations shall be wood or aluminum clad wood double hung windows with clear vision glass. Window and surrounding trim details should be submitted with the permit application. A new rear addition, shown in purple, is proposed behind the existing structure. This will include the removal of a non-historic rear porch and stair enclosure, which is shown in blue, as well as approximately 22 feet of the rear wall. The addition is flush with the existing south elevation and inset approximately 1 foot 3 inches on the north elevation and is 13 foot long. It's proposed to match the design of the rest of the rehabilitated property using the same roof line that's no taller or wider than the existing gable, and staff recommends approval as proposed. The new addition is proposed to be clad in smooth face fiber cement siding in a light beige color. Because this addition will be new construction, not replacing siding on the original building footprint, this meets the Commission's wood siding repair and replacement policy, and staff recommends approval as proposed. So the applicant is proposing to add 2 new dormers in addition to the 2 already existing on the roof. Now, the Villa District has a dormer policy, which was adopted by the Commission in 1994, that outlines design guidelines for new visible dormers within the district. Currently, there is a wall dormer on the north elevation and a roof dormer on the south elevation, both shown in blue. Because there is 1 of each per side, the applicant is proposing to add 1 wall dormer to the south and roof dormer to the north, shown in purple, so that both sides will be equal. The proposed new dormers follow most of the requirements of the adopted policy. The proposed dormers are less than or equal to 1/3 the length of the house and are located behind the existing dormers closest to the rear. The pitch starts well below the main ridge line, and the proposed materials are siding to match the remainder of the house. However, the policy states that 2 dormers per side is appropriate only in rare situations. The district has multiple examples of houses with multiple dormers on each side, and the applicant has identified 2 properties in particular, which both had PRC approvals to allow for 2 dormers per side. 3622 North Springfield and 3732 North Springfield, which is the property directly adjacent to the north of the subject building, received PRC approvals. Staff also found additional properties with multiple side dormers at 3718 North Springfield and 3751 North Harding, photos of which were all included in your packets. Historic photos of the home only show the east and south elevations, and a gable dormer is shown to be original to the building. While we don't know what the north elevation looked like, it is likely that a matching gable roof dormer adorned the northern roof. Sometime in the past, this was modified to be a wall dormer. Wall dormers are typically not approved within the district and do not match the historic character of the original bungalows. However, because the applicant is not proposing to change the massing of the existing dormer, it can remain as is. Typically, we encourage shed dormers in this district. However, because of the existing conditions and historic photographs showing a gabled dormer to be original to the property, staff recommends that it is appropriate for the building and visually consistent with the existing conditions. Because of the existing dormer policy and the multiple other examples of houses with double dormers on each side, staff recommends that the number and location of dormers is appropriate. Staff further recommends that the proposed south wall dormer be revised to a roof dormer to match the style shown on the original photograph. So staff recommends approval with the conditions already mentioned. A support letter from the alderman and a conditional support letter from the Villa Improvement League were received after the packets were compiled, but were sent out to you last night. If you have any questions, I'm here, and I believe the architect and property owner are also available.
Hi. Hi, this is Mike Gaynor, counsel for the commission and the committee. I just want to mention that the chair apparently is having some technical difficulties and is trying to sign back into the meeting. So if everybody wouldn't mind just giving her a couple minutes, and we'll see if she's able to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Can you hear me?
Great. Yes, we can.
I will just remain in audio for the remaining item as I fix this. But thank you so much, Emily. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Emily or the staff at this moment? I will try my best to see if you can use your digital hand. That will make a little bit easier to identify if you have any questions. I don't see any hands. Now, we would like to hear from the applicant and their representative. If necessary, we can call on others in the applicant's party, but at this time, can we please hear from the project architect? If you can please state your name. Yes, thank you.
Okay. My name is Andy Kasprzyński, Proplan Architect, 705 Divan Avenue, Park Ridge. And I just don't know what to say. Emily just mentioned everything that we're gonna do. So I just could answer your questions if you have.
I don't.
Anyway, we'll comply with any landmark requirements during the plan review. I'm in contact with Emily, so we'll try to do the best we can.
Commissioner Hughes, thank you. Commissioner Hughes, you have a question?
It's not a question, more so of a comment. And I think the owner hit the nail on the head. Our staff do an incredible job at just doing their research, crossing their T's and dotting their I's. But with this property in particular, I can really appreciate kind of reverting back that front porch, that front piece back to its original glory and how it looked, 100 years ago, right? It's been a while. So I always appreciate when you find those historic photos and, we can find ways to bring it, again, bringing that modern touch, but appreciating its original glory. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Commissioners, anyone else has an additional question? Either for Emily or for all types of eventful things on my end this afternoon. Either for the applicant, for the project architect, or for the staff. I don't see any hands. If there's no further questions, and if there's no further discussion, I would like to request a motion to approve, to adopt the staff recommendations for the project.
So moved, Commissioner Hughes.
And
Thank you,
seconded by Commissioner Jakovich.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes has made a motion. Commissioner Jakovich has seconded. The recommendations for staff are approved unanimously. And thank you very much for presenting the project. Thank you, Emily, for the presentation, and good luck with this project.
Thank you, guys. Bye. Thank you, Emily.
Next item on the agenda is 1120 East 50th Street in the 4th Ward. And I would like to call the staff for a presentation.
Thank you. The two-story Georgian-style brick home located at 1120 East 50th was constructed in the 1920s and is located on a lot approximately 70 feet wide and 100 feet deep. The property has no alley access and no curb cut. The applicant proposes to construct a new concrete driveway in the western side yard, which will extend to a new paver parking pad approximately 24 feet wide and 18 feet in length. A new 6-foot-high cedar privacy fence and gate will be installed in order to screen the parking pad. The driveway is proposed to be 9 feet wide with a 15-foot wide apron at the street. The new driveway will require the removal of an existing tree on the parkway. According to commission guidelines, new curb cuts along street frontages to allow for parking in the front of the property or driveways leading to the side or rear yard are not acceptable in historic districts where curb cuts are not characteristic of the original development. For the Kenwood district, curb cuts are characteristic of the historic development of the district. The applicant provided an existing curb cut survey for the 1100 block of East 50th Street, as shown here on this slide. This shows that 8 historic buildings currently have curb cuts that provide vehicular access to the rear yards, which is typical for older areas which were developed without an alley. Additionally, in the wider district context, there are 6 locations with curb cut patterns which are immediately adjacent to each other on 48th Street, 49th Street, Greenwood Avenue, Kimbark Avenue, and Woodlawn Avenue. Other curb cuts that were minimally disruptive to the historic landscape of the Kenwood district have been previously approved by the Permit Review Committee at 4840 South Dorchester, 4917 South Greenwood, 4801 South Woodlawn, and 4900 South Woodlawn. Given the predominance of existing curb cuts and the lack of alley access to some properties, the committee found that those proposed curb cuts would not adversely impact the historic characteristics of the property or district. Staff recommends that the proposed curb cut, driveway, and parking pad be approved as proposed, and should the project require approval from other city agencies, that the committee take no position regarding such approvals. Alderwoman Sophia King has reviewed this project and has no objection. And this concludes my presentation. The property owner is also here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. Commissioners, do you have any questions at this moment for Joyce? Reminder that please use your raise hand tool function, so it's easier to identify you. I don't see any hands. Then now we would like to hear from the applicant and their representatives. If necessary, we can call others in the applicant's party, but at this time, can we please hear from the property owner, Mr. John Hofsteby?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good afternoon. I can be brief since that was a pretty thorough presentation, but Chairwoman Aguirre and other members of the committee, just wanted to thank you for your consideration of this proposal. I also wanted to thank Larry and Joyce from the staff. I've been being new to this process. It's been really great to see the diligence and thoughtfulness that goes into the process. So just some brief context. We just moved to Kenwood, and with respect to our proposal, we wanted to share that we're creating a multi-generational house for my family, including our 2-year-old daughter, our son who's expected in September, as well as my in-laws. So in large part, we hope this project will help to enhance the accessibility and safety for the family really living there over the long term. So thank you again for your time and consideration.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here. Do any of the commission members have questions for the applicant? If you do, please raise your hand. I see Commissioner Ponce has her hand up.
Yes, I do. I'm just curious. I always feel a little sad when I see a tree lost. Do you have any plans to replant the tree, or maybe salvage the wood from the tree and make it out of the fence out of the tree? And any consideration for that?
Well, that's a great idea. I'll definitely talk to my architect about that. I will say that as part of our broader landscaping plan for the backyard, we are planning to add trees there. But as far as parkway trees, that hadn't come up.
Okay, thank you.
This is a question for the staff. Is there any precedent
on this item of tree removal and curb cuts in this district. Can you just comment a little bit further on that for our general knowledge?
I'm not aware of any other trees that had to be removed for curb cuts or driveways. All I do know is that, you know, the first step for the applicant is just to apply for a driveway permit in order to get that done. So, but in this district, I'm not quite sure specifically for removal of trees.
And just another follow-up question to that, Joyce or Diana or anyone in the staff. There's no ordinance, or in the ordinance doesn't include the landscape, the streetscape is not included as part of, is there criteria for preservation of any landscape that we should consider?
In this district, the significant features only include all elevations for all buildings in the district. It does not include landscaping.
Thank you, Joyce. Commissioners, are there any additional questions either for Joyce or for the applicant? I'm gonna try to see this other screen. Okay. Okay, so if there's no further questions or discussion, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendations for this project.
Commissioner Osman, I will move it. Move accept staff recommendations.
Thank you, Commissioner Osman has made a motion. Can I ask for a second motion?
Commissioner Jakovich will second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Jakovich has seconded the motion. Now I'm going to take a vote and and do a roll call. Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
Thank you. And myself, Commissioner Gary, my vote is yes as well. So this motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Oxtoby. Am I saying that correctly? Can you pronounce your last name for me?
Yeah, that was pretty good. Oxtoby.
Oxtoby, thank you. Everyone, I have a hard time with people. People have a hard time with my last name, so I'm pretty sensitive to that. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time, and good luck with your project. We're gonna pass to the last item on the agenda today, which is 5400 North Clark and the 40th Ward. And I would like to call Matt for the presentation.
Thank you, Chairwoman Aguirre and members of the committee. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. The subject property is located at the northwest corner of Balmoral Avenue and Clark Street in Andersonville. The building was designated in 2008 as part of a group of neighborhood bank buildings scattered throughout the city, as shown at right. This particular building was the Swedish American State Bank building. It was designed by the architectural firm of Ottenheimer, Stern, and Reichert in a very highly mannered classical vocabulary rendered in gleaming white terracotta. The building is 108 years old. The proposal before you is for interior build out at the first floor for a new restaurant to replace an existing one, new storefront glazing, new awnings with signage, and a new blade sign. We've been working with the applicant's architects since December on iterations of the design, and we've arrived at a proposal that staff can recommend to the committee. I wanted to point out that since you received the draft staff report in your packet last Friday, we are happy to report that this Tuesday, the applicant has submitted a revised design that addresses two substantial conditions of approval we identified in the draft staff report. First, the applicant was proposing a new steel soffit above the recessed corner entrance to mount a new blade sign. This was a pretty heavy structural steel element. We recommended that this be eliminated as not compatible with the classical architecture of the building. And the applicant in their revised design from Tuesday has removed this soffit. So that's a great thing. And the second thing, in lieu of mounting the new blade sign to this soffit, the applicant has found a way to mount the sign to a non-historic terracotta plinth above the entrance. And they've also found a way to attach a second mounting point to a non-historic steel column at the corner. So those are two big improvements to the design that we wanted to note, and different from what you saw in your packet. By way of background, I just wanted to show that this building has changed over time. When it was completed in 1913, the east and south facades shown here were articulated as arcades. The primary east facade facing Clark Street was framed as a single large arch window extending the full height of the facade. This arcaded treatment extended along the south facade facing Balmoral with a series of 3 arched windows. The bank that built the structure, like so many, failed during the Great Depression. After the Depression ended, this photo from the 1940s shows that the building was converted to retail storefronts at the first floor. To accommodate the new businesses, the first floor of the building was altered. The terracotta columns separating the arch window openings were removed and replaced with large glazed storefronts with fabric awnings. The photo also shows a large blade sign was added to the front facade, though this no longer remains. So the project before you today includes the build out of the first floor interior for a new sweet green restaurant tenant to replace an existing restaurant. The interior is not included as a significant feature in the landmark designation. On the exterior, which is a significant feature, the proposal focuses on the storefront windows, replacement awnings, and a new signage program. This is the current view of the building as it has remained since designation in 2008. The existing storefront consists of a non-historic aluminum and glass storefront system combined with large areas of T111 plywood panels, which appear in this photo as the striped painted finish. This T111 plywood is really a residential material. It's not appropriate for a historic building, and happily the applicant proposes to remove the stuff. The plywood is attached to a 2x4 wood frame structure, which also carries the existing storefront window system. The plywood covers the westernmost storefront at the south elevation completely. From there, the plywood wraps around the remainder of the south facade, the corner entrance, and the east facade, where it covers the bulkhead and the top storefront windows and portions of the corner entrance. So the applicant proposes to remove all of the plywood panels and replace the glazed storefront area at the east elevation and the 2 westernmost bays of the south elevation. No work is proposed for the 3rd bay on the south elevation. The new storefront will have dark finish framing and clear vision glass. The plywood bulkhead will be replaced with dark gray GFRC panels to resemble stone. Here is the current street view with the proposed rendering from roughly the same location, showing the more compatible transparent storefront system. It's larger, definitely more compatible with a storefront system of a building of this vintage. The existing awnings are proposed to be removed and replaced with new canvas awnings with open ends and a free hanging valance with signage. With regards to the signage program, one of the signs on the building will not be touched. This is in June 2013, the committee approved a blade sign at the 2nd floor level of the east elevation for a 2nd floor tenant of the building. That tenant is not changing, and so this project is not proposing any changes to that existing blade sign. The applicant does propose a new neon sign behind the storefront glazing at the east elevation facing Clark Street, as well as a new blade sign at the southern end of the east elevation, also facing Clark. The shape and location resemble the blade sign shown in the circa 1940 photo of the building, though the proposed sign is much smaller in size to respect the scale of the historic building. As noted earlier in my presentation, the proposal to install a new steel soffit to mount the sign has been eliminated. A less cumbersome mounting arrangement to a non-historic terracotta plinth and the steel column is proposed. So to conclude, staff recommends approval of the project with these conditions: that the new blade sign is approved, that the size and location of the sign match the dimensions in drawings dated April 22nd, that the new blade sign is mounted to the non-original terracotta plinth above the recessed entrance and at the corner steel column. The anchors for the sign shall be located in mortar joints, and the armature shall be painted to match the terracotta at that location. All electrical equipment and appurtenances for the new sign shall be concealed. As part of its building permit application, the applicant shall provide revised dimension drawings showing the sign mounted as revised on May 4th. The new storefront system is approved as depicted on drawings dated April 22nd. As part of its building permit application, the applicant shall provide additional dimension detailed drawings of the storefront system. Samples of the GFRC bulkhead are to be reviewed and approved by staff prior to installation. The new awnings with signage are approved. The applicant shall also add dimensions to their drawing showing the projection of the awning to be a minimum of 4 feet from the facade. Both Alderman Vasquez of the 40th Ward and the Andersonville Chamber of Commerce are aware of this project and have submitted letters of support. We have representatives from the restaurant and their team of architects here to answer any questions that I might not be able to answer. I do know that they also have a presentation they wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt. Commissioners, do you have any questions at this moment for Matt or the staff?
Just one question. I was curious, and I might have missed it in the presentation, but on the final bay, I'm assuming it's a kitchen back there or something back of house. Was there any discussion of doing something with that last bay? That's my question. Just curious what conversations, or if any conversations were happening around that.
Thanks, Commissioner. No, we have had no conversations about that bay because it's something that they never proposed to touch, but I will leave it to the team to answer what their approach has been to that piece.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question, Commissioner Yakovich. Now, let's hear from the applicant and their representatives. If necessary, we can call in others if the applicant's party. But at this time, can we please hear from the owner representative, Julia Brunzel?
Hi. Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Thank you very much. Thank you, Matt, for that. I will say, I don't know that we need to go through this entire presentation. It does essentially have most of the same content as what Matt showed. I can certainly go through it quickly, but just a little bit about us as a company. I don't, how do we advance the, are you advancing the slides or? Sorry. Yeah. Just a little bit about Sweet Green. My name is Julie Brunzel and I lead architecture and planning. I just wanted to take you through a little bit about our company and what we do. We're super excited to be fitting out a restaurant and on this corner. It's such a great location and we're really excited about this building and the presence that we'll have in the community. You can go ahead to the next slide. Just a little bit about our mission on this slide. And this is a little bit about our food ethos. We're very transparent in how we prepare and source ingredients for our salads and bowls, and very committed to scratch cooking, local sourcing, and sustainability. Next slide. And we believe in very much kind of leaving people and places better than we found them and making a high impact in every community that we go to. And then the next slide is just another example of another one of our locations in Southern California, and essentially how we fit out our spaces and you know, what we believe in terms of a brand ethos and community engagement. And then the next slide is just a little bit of a duplication of what Matt presented around this bank in this corner. And I can take you through, I think I'm gonna skip through and maybe go down to like slide 14, if you don't mind. I just skip through the interior shots just to kind of save time for everybody. We can go through these really quickly. And just to answer the question about the third bay, so what we're doing along Balmoral is opening up the windows so you have visibility into the dining room area of our restaurant. So I think beyond that is part of the landlord's jurisdiction, if you will. I believe there's an elevator back there. So I know our elevations don't really show that third bay in its entirety. So yeah. I hope that answers your question. I know that's not super clear, but there's some more detailed drawings in this presentation, and I'm sure it was included in your packet, showing from our sign vendor, showing a little bit more detail about the attachments that we're proposing for our blade sign at the corner and our awnings, and a couple of elevations there as well. Are there additional questions? Comments?
Thank you. Yeah, Commissioner Jakovich, you have an additional question.
Sure. No, thank you for the presentation. I didn't mean to zero in on that. I think it's a really well done proposal. So
no worries.
So nice work. And yeah, I was just looking for more, but it's going to be a great improvement to the building, and the drawings are very nice. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. No, we really appreciated all the effort that Matt put in to kind of help us get here, which was much appreciated.
Commissioners, do you have any additional questions either for the staff or for Mrs. Brunzell? I do have to say the removal of the black element, and specifically on this view, this feature on this view, it's much appreciated. I think the amount of light that you're bringing in, not only from the windows and the facade, but this specific access point, it definitely improved. So we appreciate working with the staff and resolving the design for that.
Great. Yeah, no, it was really, really good to learn that we were able to attach to that non-historic terracotta for sure.
I also appreciate sharing the mission and overall kind of ethos of the business, that it's going in and activating this building. Okay, I don't see any hands up. Commissioners, if there's no further discussion or questions, I would like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendations for this project.
Motion, Commissioner Hughes.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes has made a motion. Can I ask for a second motion?
Second, Commissioner Ponce.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponce has made a second motion. Now I'm going to take a vote. Roll call. Commissioner Jakovich.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Osmond.
Yes.
And myself, Commissioner Gary, also vote yes. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Brunzell. Good luck. Beautiful project. We can't wait to enjoy some of that spatial quality that you're creating in that corner, but also to visit and learn more about the business.
Great. Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck. There being no further business, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn.
So
moved, Commissioner Hughes.
I was ready for Commissioner Hughes.
I was good to it. Yeah, you're always
ready for the big
enthusiastic about it. Thank you
So moved.
That's what I
think
wanted.
we just got used to it, Commissioner Hughes. I'm sorry. You're the champion of that. I appreciate the patience with my technical difficulties. I think just technology is sabotaging all of us. It's computers are tired. Like all of us are tired of virtual world. I can't wait to see you all in person very soon, hopefully. If everyone agrees, please say aye for just closing our meeting.
Adjournment.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, commissioners, for your service, and we'll see you again next month.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.